So, what are you doing for yourself on this grief journey? Let's talk about that today. Hey, Wid fam, this is Leo with One Happy Widow, and I help widowed people to pivot from grief to growth in their journey on this life after their loss. So, today we're going to talk about you and yourself as a resource on this grief journey. All right. So, first of all, let's talk about where you are in your grief journey. Okay. There's generally three different places or phases that I like to identify. Okay. There's fresh grief. Fresh grief happens in that moment from either the time that you find out that your spouse is terminal, if in the case of a terminal illness, your grief starts at that point, or at the time that you find out that your spouse has died. So there's the fresh grief. There's a lot of things that happen in fresh grief. There's a lot of changes that take place in your brain, in your heart, in your body, just all around you in your circumstances and your situations. Usually it's in the first 6 to 12 months. Okay, it's when you're trying to take care of all the things in these changes that are taking place in your life, not only with your heart breaking and you dealing with your loss, but all the things that have to come along with that: funerals and legal stuff and money stuff and job stuff and just all the things that come along with the changes in your life. And then we've got what I call the valley of grief. So that's when all those one-time things that you have to take care of have taken place. You've taken care of that thing, and you're kind of sitting there like, okay, I dealt with all that stuff. Now what? And so you're kind of learning how to live this life without your person and figuring out, how do you move on for the rest of your life without this person? There's a lot of changes that go along in there. Okay. And that's also, it's like in that valley where, you've been on this free fall for a while and you're probably close to hit rock bottom maybe, and you're trying to figure out a way to climb out of that pit and figure out how to make a normal life for yourself. And then you get to that point of acceptance where you're thinking, okay, I've dealt with my grief in the best way that I know how, and now I have to figure out how to deal with myself. Like, how do I make this life? I've accepted the fact that I've lost my love, and they're not coming back, and I'm tired of having that to be the first part in my brain, the front of my brain all the time, like that central focus of my attention all the time. Now, how do I learn how to live with this and incorporate this into my everyday life and then live a normal life? What they call the new normal, which I really don't like that term, but honestly, it's about the most accurate term that there is. All right, so those are like the three different places that you could be in your grief journey. So first you got to figure out, where are you? Where are you in that grief journey? For me, I'm definitely at that third stage because I'm 6.5 years out almost. I'm remarried. And some people seem to think that makes me not a widow anymore, but I tend to disagree because, I'm still dealing with the grief. I'm still dealing with life without that person, the changes of my life that are happening because my husband died. Getting remarried did not bring my late husband back from the dead. It did not take away all of my pain. It did not make my grief go away. And it did not bring my children's father back from the dead. And so I'm still living the widowed experience, even today. So a few days ago, I had a birthday. I turned 50. And as celebratory as it was, and my current husband had this big party for me and had all the people in my life, he said, I want you to sit down, tonight, and I want you to just look around. I'm not really a social butterfly, so this was kind of a difficult time for me. It was happy, but it was a little stressful too, right? Because there's a lot of people there. He said, I want you to sit, and I want you to look around at least for a moment and just look and realize that this is basically all the people in your life that care about you the most. These are the most important people in your life. And I did. And at the same time, it made me weepy because now a few things came to mind. First of all, only 3 of my children were there out of the 4. So my oldest daughter opted not to come to my birthday party. It has totally separate from the grief and from the loss. but it's a stage in her life that she's in that, it's causing a lot of issues between us. And so she, even though she was invited, she opted not to come. And for details I don't want to share, but she wasn't there. So that was like an empty hole for me. And the other person that wasn't there was Dewey, my kid's dad. And I kept thinking about, like, although I wouldn't even be having this party like this if I hadn't been remarried, but I couldn't help but think about what kind of party would I be having right now if Dewey had been alive. I was older than him, so I would have reached 50 before he did. And so I kept thinking, this is yet another milestone that he's not going to be able to celebrate with me. My kids are there. My 3 kids were there, and they got me presents and cards and cakes, and we danced and we had fun and we did karaoke, and it was a fun time. But it was just another celebration of our family and several of my friends that he wasn't there for. I also think about my current husband, JP, whose wife passed away several years ago. And she was 49 when she passed away. And I was turning 50. And I didn't mention this to him, but I kind of wondered, is he thinking like my first wife, his first wife, her name was Crystal. I'm wondering if he's thinking, Crystal never made it to 50. Like, she made it to 49, but she'll forever be 49. She never made it to 50. So it's just all those little things that kind of remind you. And so even though it was a happy time, it was a celebration, I'm remarried, I have all these people that love me, and it was awesome. It was just an awesome night. But, I'm still going through a hole there that will never, ever be filled. And I still had to reconcile those feelings. And I wasn't feeling that the whole time. It did not ruin my night, but it was just another dimension that was added to it that just kind of reminded me in the back of my head that, yep, this is another milestone that he didn't get to celebrate with you and the kids. And so I think no matter how long we go, no matter what phase of this grief journey that we're in, there's still going to be those thoughts in the back of your head. It's still going to be there. That it's still going to kind of sprinkle itself all throughout your life experiences, that everything that's happening, they're not going to be there with you to celebrate. And so we just have to reconcile those thoughts and those feelings and accept them for what they are, and try not to push them out of our minds, and let ourselves feel them and have those moments in reverence and in honor of our late spouse, because they at least deserve that. So let's think about the resources that you have available to you in your different phases of your grief journey. So if you're in fresh grief, there's tons of resources, out there for you, but at the same time, it's probably the hardest time for you to be able to find those resources. There's programs online that you can find. There's free resources out there for you. So, there's YouTube, there's all kinds of YouTube channels out there. My YouTube channel's out there for several of my videos cover fresh grief and that part of the journey. And there's several other what I call widow influencers out there that have videos that might help you. There's Facebook groups out there for freshly grieving widows and widowers. There's Grief Share. So Grief Share is a faith-based program that you can find. It's pretty much all over America. You just have to go to I don't know if it's griefshare.com or griefshare.org. I can't remember, but I'll put the link below. But they have both online and in person, and it's a small group grief program. It's 13 weeks, and they go through the journey, and they just give you a lot of good skills, and you're able to talk to other people who have lost. It's not just for widows, it's for people who've lost loved ones to a death. But most people who have gone through the Grief Share have had positive reviews of that and said that it was helpful. And most of the time it's either free or really cheap, like probably less than $20 just for the price of the of the workbook or whatever. So it's relatively free or cheap. And then there's blogs and articles, and just go online. There's all kinds of free resources online that you can access no matter what stage of grief that you're in. So there's also some paid resources. Okay, so there's some paid groups that you can go to be a part of. There's therapy that you can go, one-on-one therapy, small group therapy, counseling sessions. You can find a therapist. I have access to a therapist that's under our church, and since it's faith-based and it is organized by our church, it's also funded by our church, and so it is free. So I am able to access therapy for myself for free as well. There are self-help articles, there are self-help groups and classes, and there are books out there that you could buy and you could read for yourself. So there's all kinds of paid resources out there for you as well. There's also courses. I have a course, the Grief Pivot course, and I'll put the link below under griefpivotcourse.com. It's 28 lessons specifically made to help you grow from that valley of grief out into the phase of acceptance. So it basically helps you pivot from grief to growth. And there's 28 different lessons that you have lifetime access to. There are video recordings, there are printable things, all kinds of different exercises and ways to shift your mindset to help you through that. So, and that's a paid course, but a lot of people have used that and it has been helpful for them as well. And then the biggest resource that people probably don't talk about because it doesn't sound obvious, but your biggest resource to help you through this grief journey is going to be you, yourself. And some of the things I'm going to say in the rest of this video might rub you the wrong way, okay? Because it's going to be a little bit of tough love, but it's going to be things that you need to hear and things that you really already know that it's true, but most people don't have I don't want to say you don't have the guts to tell you, but it's easier to take advice from someone who has walked a mile in your shoes and has gone through your experiences with you than somebody who hasn't. You could get the same piece of advice from two people. If you get that first piece of advice from somebody who's never been through what you've been through, and you're going to think, well, what do you know? You haven't been through this. When I first went to therapy, it was, with this young girl that was probably 25 years old, who probably had never been married, had certainly never lost a spouse. And she was giving me some advice that was probably sound. But the whole time in my mind, I was like, how do you even know what I need? You've not been through what I've been through. So how do I know that your advice is even sound? But I could get the same piece of advice from someone else who's been through what I've been through, who's a widowed person who has lost family members, gone through some severe grief. The therapist that I see now, I don't want to share too many details, but she has suffered multiple losses of children and grandchildren. And so even though it's not been a spouse that she's lost, I know that she's going through a lot of the same grieving feelings and secondary losses in her life due to the loss of such close family members. And so when she gives me a piece of advice, it's a little easier to take because I'm like, okay, she probably knows what she's talking about because she has gone through a similar type of grief or a similar strength of loss as I have. So just know that this advice that I'm about to give you now, this is coming straight from me, and it's coming from a person who has been through something similar to what you've been through. I've been through the loss of a spouse, and I'm still trying to reconcile it in my mind. And this is advice that I give my own self sometimes. This is when you give yourself a pep talk and you're like, okay, it's time to put your big girl panties on and straighten your crown, right? And pull your shoulders up and put your chin up and look forward and know that it's time. It's time for you to do what you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this. If it rubs you the wrong way, feel free to turn it off and walk away. But you kind of know in the back of your mind that I'm right. And you know that you need to listen. Okay? So the first thing I want to say is all of the resources that are available to you, none of them are going to work unless you use them. Okay. And all of the resources that you have available to you, none of them are going to work on their own. Nobody's going to fix your problem. You're going to fix your problem. But you know what the resources do? They give you the tools. They put the tools in your hand, or they put the tools in your mind, or they help you put the tools in your heart so that you can use them to help fix yourself. And maybe fix is not the right word because we're never really going to get fixed, right? We're just going to work on ourselves to get better, to get stronger, to get more able to handle whatever it is that's been thrown at us and learn how to live with it and learn how to incorporate it into our new lives. There's never any fixing, right? Our person's never coming back. So we're never going to go back to the way things were. So we have to figure out how we live in the way things are now. And that's not something that we like to accept. That's really hard. But once we finally do get to that acceptance point and we're like, okay, I admit my person's never going to come back. So now I can either sit here and wallow in this and be miserable for the rest of my life, or I can figure out how to, make whatever changes that I need to make so that I can move forward and I can try to figure out how this life is going to go from here on out. right? So all these resources do, no matter if they're paid or free, whether they're strong or just little pieces of things or just little stuff, it doesn't matter. It's all just tools that are put in your tool belt or your toolkit, right? So that you can use the tools and incorporate them and put them to work on yourself. Okay, so whether you go to a doctor who gives you medicine, or whether you go to a therapist who listens and then gives you ideas or gives you advice or gives you things that you can do, exercises you can do, or ways to change your mindset, you still have to do the work, right? So imagine you go to a doctor, and I'm not just talking about for grief. Let's just say you go to a doctor for some disease that you have, and the doctor says, well, I know exactly what you have, and I've got just the thing to fix it. So he writes you a prescription and he hands it to you, and you take the prescription and you go home, and you don't feel any better. And then someone asks you, well, what's going on? Well, I don't know. This doctor, he gave me this prescription, but I don't feel any better. Okay, well, did you fill the prescription? Oh, well, no. Okay, well, you got to go do that. Okay, so take this prescription and take it to the pharmacy and go get the dang medicine. So you get the medicine, you come home, and then you wait, and you're like, well, I don't feel any better. Okay, well, did you take the medicine? Oh, no, I didn't do that. I mean, I know this is sounding dumb, right? People don't really do this. But what I'm trying to make you see is that when we get a piece of advice of something that might help us, not just medicine. Obviously, you got to take the medicine for it to work. So that's your job. The doctor gave you the medicine, but you got to take it for it to work. It's the same thing with tools. It's the same thing with exercises to change your mindset, or things that you can think about to help put your brain in the right place, or routines that you can put in your life that are going to help make your life easier, or help make you more able to deal with life, or ways that you can eat better to make your body feel better so that your mind can feel better. All these things are intertwined. But if you have all these ideas and all these resources and all these things that you can do to change your mindset, if you don't put them into place, they're not going to work. So receiving them and hearing them is one thing, but implementing them is the most important part. And so that's your job to implement those things. And I'm not saying that they're easy things to do. And I'm not saying you're always going to want to. It's like taking that horse pill, right? The pill is really big and large, and it's hard for you to swallow it. And you know that when you try to swallow it, it's going to be a really hard pill to swallow. But you know, once you finally do that, the medicine's going to start working, and then you're going to start feeling better. Okay, maybe you don't want to wake up at the same time every day and set an alarm and get up at the same time and get up early and get into the bathroom and brush your teeth and fix your hair and get your clothes on and take a shower and eat yourself some breakfast or fix your coffee or go on a walk and get some sunshine on your skin and get some blood flowing to your body, and then get your morning routine started and do that routine every single day. It kind of sucks to do that because you're tired and in the morning and you're still depressed, or you're still sad, or you're still suffering from this grief, and you're like, I don't want to get up. I don't even want to get out of the bed. But if you suck it up and get up and do your morning routine every single day until it's so routine that it feels more weird not to do it than it does to do it. And you start doing that every day and you realize, you know what, I really didn't feel like getting up today. But now that I'm up, now that I'm in the shower, now that my hair is fixed and I'm dressed and I feel fresh and I brush my teeth and I got my coffee and all these things, whatever your morning routine is. Once you get that out of the way and you've done it, it's so much easier to face the rest of the day. Whether you have to stay at home and clean house, whether you have to take care of your animals, whether you have to run errands, whether you have to go to work and do your job, whatever it is that you have to do, it makes it so much easier to face the day and handle it once you've done some self-care and you've gone through that routine every day, right? But who's doing the routine? You are. Who's the one that's making you do the routine? You. Your brain is telling you. Your heart might not be telling you. You might not feel like doing it, but you got to do it anyway. Okay. And I've talked about this in another video before. I know you're sad, but if you wait around until you're not sad to start doing the things that you need to do for your life, you're never going to do them. So guess what you have to do? You have to do it sad. You have to get up sad. You have to brush your teeth sad. You have to get in the shower and put your clothes on sad. And you're still going to have those thoughts in your mind that's like, well, this is me and I'm doing this by myself and I really wish I didn't have to, but I am. You're going to have those same thoughts, but you still need to go through the motions because you're not going to feel better first and then do all the things. You're going to do all the things first and then you're going to feel better because of it. Okay? So it's your job. And I'm not saying you have to do all these things at once because that can be a little overwhelming. And so part of my Grief Pivot course is teaching you how to do those things. It's telling you exactly what you need to do or helping you make a list of exactly what you need to do. And then incorporating them a little bit at a time and doing a few things and another few things. And then we even have some things where you write your goals down and then you fill them in and you track your routines and your habits and things and you come back and you look and you see how far you've come and see if it makes you feel any better. So I help you with that in my Grief Pivot course to break them down into smaller chunks, easier pills to swallow, so to speak, so that you can start putting routines in your life and start living instead of just existing and breathing your air in and out every day. All right. Another thing to do is to journal. Okay. And journaling is free. Journaling is free. And I know people think, I don't really want to journal because I keep having the same thoughts. I've heard somebody say, well, why should I journal every day? I have the same thoughts every day. I'm just writing down the same crap every single day. Okay, well, that's okay. Because you might think it's the same thing every day, but I promise you, write down that journal every single day for 3 months and then come back and read it and see if it hasn't changed at least a little bit. It's not just about writing it down. Writing it down is cathartic and it's cleansing, okay? And it helps get it from your brain, out of your head, and out of your body, and through your fingers and onto the paper. So it kind of gets some of that poison and toxic thinking out of your brain. But also what it does is it helps you to record exactly where you are, a snapshot in that moment. It's just like when you get a bad haircut. And I've said this so many times before, but I've had some bad haircuts. I'm just saying. Like with short hair, sometimes it's tough. You can easily get a bad haircut. And I've woken up before and I've looked in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is going to take forever to grow out. And every day I look in the mirror and I'm like, yep, still terrible. Yep, still terrible. This still looks like crap. And every day I feel like it looks like crap and it looks terrible. But then maybe 3 months later, I look at a picture of myself and I'm like, whoa, that was the first day I got that bad haircut. It looked like crap. And then I look at myself, I'm like, okay, less like crap today. But you don't see the difference in your haircut every day when you look at it in the mirror because there's such little change from one day to the next. But you see it months down the road and then you look back and you realize how much farther your hair has grown, like how far you've become. Same thing with losing weight. You don't see the changes from day to day to day. You have to go through long periods of time and then go back and see those little changes, how they've compounded and added up. So when you're on the grief journey, you have to give yourself some time. And the only way that you can't see grief. You can sometimes see grief in a picture on your face. Like sometimes you can see a picture of yourself and you're like, wow, I could tell how upset I was in that picture. But let's just say in general, you can't really see your state of mind in a picture. So you can't just look back at yourself months later and say, look at how far I've come mentally. The only way you can take a snapshot of your mental state is if you write it down and you explain it. And then you come back later and you read. And then you can see that you have made some progress. If you don't want to just free write, and just write whatever comes to mind and you feel like you're writing the same thing all the time, that's fine. I have some journal templates for you. You can put some journal, what they call prompts, some journal prompts in there that basically ask you a question or give you a topic to write on, and you can go pick and choose the prompts that you want to use that will tell you what you need to focus on and think about. And so I have some free journal templates, blank journal templates that you can print out that you can use to start writing down to start a journal if you want to do that. And the only thing you have to do is go to my website, onehappywidow.com/journal, and you can go there. You can get your free PDF printable journal templates and just print those out and just start writing them down. Put some hole punch them, put them in a 3-ring binder, and then just save them. And then to keep from forgetting, every time the weather changes, like every time it changes the seasons, then go back. So on the first day of fall, which I think we already had, right? We just had the first day of fall, go back and read your journal articles, and then on the first day of winter, go back and read the last 3 months of your journal articles or 6 months or whatever and see how far you've come. See if that works for you. That's just one of the many resources. But again, I'm giving you the resource. Like I'm telling you what you need to do. I'm even giving you the resource free on a PDF that you can print it out and put it in your notebook. But if you don't write in it, You are the resource. If you don't write in it, then the tool doesn't work. And so put it into motion. Okay. Take the resources, put them into motion. Pick one thing that you're going to do this month and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do this month. I don't care what it is. Just make yourself a goal. Like, I'm going to get up every single day this month and I am going to get dressed. Like, if you're having trouble get out of bed and you're just laying around and doing and wallowing in your depression and you don't have to go to work or whatever, then make that your goal. Every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to get dressed all the way down to the shoes for 30 days. I'm going to do that and just see what happens. And then write down how you feel and how it's doing, and then go back and see if that's helped you. All right. So again, the resources aren't going to fix you. It's you that's going to fix you, but the resources are the tools that you're going to use in order to fix yourself. Maybe you want to fix, maybe you want to get better, but you just don't know how. Okay, that's a lot of times why people are in our Facebook group, because they want to feel better. They just don't know how to do it. They don't have the tools, and they're reaching out in desperation, like, please, what can I do to feel better about this? Something triggered me today and it made me feel this way. Is this normal? Has anyone ever been through this, and how do you feel better about it? And so, so here's some things to think about. Here's some things to ask yourself. Are you stuck in grief? Like, are you in that valley of grief right now where you're stuck? It's past the fresh grief stage, but you're not at the acceptance stage, and you don't feel like you're progressing at all. You feel like maybe you're stuck in grief. Or do you feel like something in your mind is telling you, like, I feel like I should be farther along in my grief journey than I am, but I'm not. And I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if I'm really stuck, or if this is how long it's supposed to take. Like, a lot of times you don't really know. You're like, should I be at this stage right now, or should I be farther along? A lot of people question themselves. And hint, there's no right answer to that, right? But if you've been stuck in a certain grief phase for months and months and months, maybe years, and you have not progressed, and you still feel a certain way, or you still feel a lot of anger, or you feel like, well, I'm not ever going to get any better, and so no, I'm not, or you feel like you don't want to, then yeah, you're probably stuck in a grief phase. And so that might be a time for you to start looking into some resources, or maybe even getting some professional help if you're in that stage for too long. All right. But there's only one person who can help you only one person who knows. Okay. And that's you. Now, you can ask these questions to other people and they can help guide you to an answer, but every person is different. And so you have to know what's best for you. But a lot of times people come into our groups because they don't know. They don't know if it's normal, or like what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. And another hint, there's no right or wrong answer to that, as long as you're not, a danger to yourself or others. Any other way that you decide to manifest your grief that's up to you. We're all a little bit different. But another thing to ask yourself is, do you want to feel better? A lot of times in fresh grief, we don't even want to feel better. It's like we almost feel like we deserve to feel like how we feel. You don't, but a lot of times we feel like we do. And then we get to that point where we kind of think we want to feel better, but then we feel guilty because we're like, well, I don't really want to feel better, because that if I start feeling better, maybe that means that I've forgotten my spouse. Or if I start feeling happy, that means that I've gotten over my spouse's death. There's a lot of complicated mixed emotions whenever you transition to a new phase of grief. It just comes along with the territory. But the question is, do you want to feel better? I talked to my husband about this when he was in fresh grief, and he was like, yeah, I remember, when Crystal died, it was sudden. So it wasn't expected. Right. So he just came home, and he's the one that found her. So, and he wasn't expecting to find her. And he said, and he had to go to work the very next day. And he said, I cried every single day. I cried all day. I got up and I woke up crying. And then I put my sunglasses on and I did my job and I went to work, and I tried to stay away from people and things because I didn't want them to see me crying. He said, but I cried all day, and then I cried myself to sleep, and then I woke up and I was crying. And he said, and I did this for day after day after day after day, and after week after week after week. And he said, after like a month, he said, finally, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, the crying is not making him feel any better. He's crying because he's sad, but the crying itself is not helping him heal. The crying is not helping him move forward. As a matter of fact, it was causing him to be stuck in that grief. And he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of being sad. You can't just turn off the sad. I get it. But he said he just got to that one point, like it was just I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to cry like this anymore. I'm just not going to. And so he just said, I just decided I'm not going to cry anymore. Every single day from the time he woke up till the time he went to bed. And so he said, I just stopped. He said, no, I had my moments, obviously. I mean, we all still have our moments. But he just turned that corner, because he wanted to stop feeling that way. So my question to you is, do you want to feel better? And if the answer is no, then it's going to take some introspection. It's going to take some going inside and thinking, okay, well, what phase of grief are you in? And if you're not in fresh grief and it's been a while and you still don't want to feel better, then that could be a different issue. That could be a flip from grief to depression. So you need to probably talk to somebody about that. But let me ask you this. If you say you don't want to feel better, why are you watching this video? Okay, you're here for a reason. You're watching this video for a reason. Even if you're really angry and you're like, I am never going to feel better. And this is the way things are. And, whatever. I don't want to accept that he's gone. And so I'm not going to. And you feel those angry feelings. But there's still a reason why you're watching this video. And why you've made it this far. It's over half an hour in. You're still watching it. So there was something inside of you that is saying, yes, I do want to feel better. Guilty or not. The fact is, we're not meant to be this miserable for the rest of our lives when we lose our spouse. It's not supposed to be this way. Maybe you think, well, he wasn't supposed to die either, so it wasn't supposed to be that way. Yep, I get it. But that's the reality we're dealing with right now. But the fact is we're not supposed to be in that acute grief stage for the rest of our lives after we lose a spouse. It's not meant to be that way. Okay, there is healing and there is growth and there is acceptance and there is moving forward. And it's little tiny baby steps at a time. It's really hard to do and we have to do the work. And I'm really sorry that you are having to do it, but you still are. We all are if we're watching this. And so there's a reason why you're here, because you need some answers and you want some help and you want some tools. So that's why we're here, right? And so, again, like I've said, if you wait around, if you wait every day and say, well, I'm too sad to do this, and I'm going to wait. As soon as I start feeling better, then I'm going to get up, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to do all the things, or I'll go back to work or whatever. That's not going to happen, sis or brother. Okay? It's not. You probably aren't going to start feeling better and then start doing things. Okay? You're going to have to flip it. You're going to have to do the things so that later you can start feeling better. And that's part of you using the tools and being your best resource and getting yourself up and going through the hard motions so that you can make this life for yourself. Okay? Because the fact is that we are without our person, but we still got to make a life for ourselves. Okay? So you got to find your way and you got to find your path. And if you're wandering aimlessly on the path, you don't even know where you're going, you're just putting one foot in front of the other, or you're not even putting your foot in front of the other, just standing there in the quicksand, then you got to reach out to somebody. You reach out to us. You reach out to me. I got my email address down below. You go join our Facebook group. I got the Facebook group down below. You go reach out to someone else. You go sign up for some therapy. You call a doctor and you make an appointment. You do something and you reach out. But if you are stuck in place and you're just wandering aimlessly with no goals and nothing seems to be getting better and you don't know how to get out of that, then it's time for you to go out and find some resources and putting them into place, okay? All right, so that's going to be my message today. I do have a secret. It won't be a secret for very long, but I do have an exciting announcement. I have been invited to be a guest speaker at an event that's coming up soon. It's virtual, but still, it's a conglomeration of a lot of influencers and things out there. And they've reached out to me and asked me if I would be a speaker there. So the next time I make a video, I will be revealing those details. I'm very excited about it. So I'll be speaking there, as well as a whole bunch of other prominent widowed influencers out there. They're going to be doing different things, and it's going to be And it's going to be just in time for the holidays. And so I'm really excited because I'm putting together my little presentation. I'm putting together some freebies for you guys to give away. I'm putting some extra stuff on my website that'll be available to you by then. I'm doing a lot of extra work so I can have some stuff for you by then. And so I cannot wait to share, but I don't have all the details just yet. So I will share those as soon as I get the details coming up in the next couple weeks. And so be on the lookout. I'll also send out an email with those details, and it'll be on our Facebook group. So, like I said, reach out if you need any help, if you're looking for resources, if you're looking for answers. If I can't help you and I don't have the resources, I can certainly help you find them so that you can go somewhere and get the help that you need to find you, because I want to help everybody as much as I can to try to move forward in this grief journey. And, it's never going to go away. I know it, but we just got to find a way to live with it. We got to find a way to put it in our lives and make it a part of our lives every day without it being the main focus, without it stopping us from doing any other thing in our lives. Okay, so thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel if this has been useful to you. Hit that bell so you don't miss any new videos that have come out. Join our group. Sign up for the email list. Do all the things, okay? And I will see you next time. See ya.